So tonight, we're not just specifically talking about the college application process. Really, ideally, we are looking to discuss, navigating your high school journey, utilizing resources that you have available to you, and putting yourself, the student, and you as a support network, as a family, in a good position to navigate the process when it is time your senior year. Every kid is unique. And we believe that every kid's individualized plan should play towards their strengths, but most importantly, be something that they're going to enjoy doing. I love to highlight our recent graduates, and with this recent year, it was different. We were thrown into the unknown, and this class of 2020, they were incredible. I'm lucky to have worked with them, and I wanted to kind of pay them homage by having their picture up for this specific night. And I see some seniors here tonight. I see parents of seniors. Hopefully, we maybe have a more traditional graduation, but regardless, this senior class and everyone at Chippewa right now, they're trailblazers in their own right. We're navigating a new process, and we're going to talk a little bit about that tonight. Meet our team. So listed on this page, we have the school counselors. My name's Michael Boucher. I'm the director of school counseling. Previously introduced, we have Miss Joanne Kelly. She's a school counselor for students in grades 9 to 12, beginning Alpha through M, part of M at least. We're adjusting that. We're trying to get it to the best letter alphas for everyone to understand. Miss Samantha Steinis, also who was previously introduced, high school counselor, grades 9 to 12, end of the alphabet, M through Z. We have Miss Kelly Norris, who is not with us tonight, but she is our fabulous middle school counselor. Also with us tonight, Mr. McManus. Michael McManus is our college and career coordinator, who is doing some great things this year, and we're going to talk all about them. And then we have our school counseling secretary, Miss Cheryl Carradaz. We need to get a new picture, and I'm trying to request the team to do a masked picture in the mall, 6 to 8 feet apart. So I think it would be nice for our webpage. Tonight's agenda. Where to start? When I say where to start, that is, getting to high school and not having an inkling of, what your future holds, and that's okay. To be honest, I didn't know exactly what I wanted to do until my sophomore year of college. I changed my mind a couple of times, and it's about finding that right fit, which we're also going to talk about. We're going to talk about researching for college and the resources that we have available at Chippewa Valley School, which they're abundant. Standardized testing, yes, this has been a bit of a sore subject, but our seniors were able to take the SAT school day this week. The majority of the seniors were able to take it last week on the 23rd. So step one accomplished. We'll talk about the PSAT, ACT, other things, standardized testing. Finding the right fit in building your college list. This may not even include four-year colleges. So like I said, each kid is different. There's no shame in attending, technical schools, doing a gap year. We're going to go over all these different things. COVID implications. So for obvious reasons, admissions offices have been forced to make some adjustments based on recent events and the current pandemic. And we're going to talk a little bit about those and point you to some resources that'll help you navigate those. And then we'll talk at the end, Chippewa Valley School specific college application process, which, we've had a couple different events with the class of 2021 already. We did a virtual breakfast of counselors towards the tail end of the school year. And we also just recently were in senior project classes doing presentations. But this is also good to know for students in grades 9 through 11 for when you get there. Okay. Where to start? So I say get involved, and I recently just updated this slide. Getting involved looks different today. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. However, it doesn't mean that kids can't seek out ways to be involved, whether it be virtually. We are looking to open clubs, as soon as possible. Also, athletics are up and running. So we're getting there. What I always encourage kids to do is try something new. Maybe sometimes even step out of your comfort zone and give something a try, just to try it and to verify that it's not the best thing for you. But getting involved, that is something imperative in each admissions panel that we've done in the last year, actually in the last 5 months. They talked about, really getting involved in as many things as possible. Community service. So community service, yes, we are in a time where it's also challenging, but there are still ways to do community service. One thing about Chippewa is we do ask that community service is fulfilled for the graduation requirement, at least through a not-for-profit. That doesn't mean that, students can't do additional hours above and beyond that, at a place of their choosing to give back, discover yourself. Miss Gallo always talks about middle school and how there is a self-discovery, phase during middle school. I still think that high school too, there's a lot of self-discovery going on. We have a number of different resources to assist with that, and also just our teachers and interacting with faculty and having those conversations. Taking chances and challenging yourself. No secret that our kiddos really do challenge themselves, every chance they get. We have a slew of AP offerings, and our kids did amazing again last year on the AP test. But it's not just about the rigor in the course. It's about stepping out of your comfort zone and advocating for yourself, speaking up for something that you believe in. And there's a lot more to that. College research. We have a number of platforms. I'm not going to go through each one right now because I'm going to go into that in depth shortly. And yes, meet with your school counselor. This is, the college and career planning is one of the really 3 pillars that school counseling is founded on: academia, college and career development, and personal social well-being. So this is something that, we work with every year, and we want to help all students and parents navigate this process. I'm going to take a quick pause to see if there are people coming in. Okay. Build your resume. Colleges don't all require resumes. However, in a sense, and we'll get to Common App a little bit later, a lot of what you're entering on Common App is similar to building a resume. They want to know what you did. They want to know if you worked. They want to know all about you. They're trying to get a whole picture of the student, not just the student in the classroom taking that specific class. They want to know as much as they can to determine if that student is the right fit for that said college, university, trade school, technical school. Starting with 9th grade, for resumes, anything middle school or earlier, that's something that they don't really take into account. I'm sure, and from what I know about our kids, there have been some great accolades in middle school, but for college purposes, they're looking from 9th grade on. Rigorous courses, we have plenty of them, and we encourage and we see kids taking these classes on a regular basis. And if for some reason there's a course that your son or daughter or child is interested in that is not in our course ledger, we have virtual high school, which is a computer-based class that is very popular amongst our kids and has a plethora of great courses to take advantage of. For information on that, you can visit the Chippewa Valley School website under virtual high school, and they have the course catalog in there. And as far as building an actual resume, there is a template in Naviance, which we're going to talk all about shortly.
Okay, well, we shouldn't have that one.
Resources, research, and preparation. So the 4 ones that I'm going to talk about, and then I'm going to turn it over eventually to Miss Samantha Steinus. But first and foremost, College Board. It's your hub for SAT registration. It's where AP Central is stored. There's a lot with College Board. There's a lot of great college resources for research as well. Naviance is a program that is used by schools across the country. And specifically, it's a student success plan tool that has a heavy part of the college application process. But through 9 to 12, as I'll discuss in the next few slides, we utilize this tool to really get kids to learn more about themselves through different surveys, inventories, so on and so forth. I'll put a link here so that you can look at this on your own time. But as you may have known already, we have, and we refer to ourselves as a support service team because it's not just school counselors that really make up that support service team. We work very closely with the school psychologist, and we want to make sure that they feel included. However, this page has a number of resources that you can utilize to look into the college application process, learn more about our program itself. Google Classroom, which I can confirm that all of you know about since we've been using it regularly for the last 2 years. We also, as a school counseling department, we have a class of 2021 Google Classroom right now that we use exclusively for information on the college process. We will be creating one for the junior class in the upcoming weeks to get them going with junior planning. And as far as grades 10 and grades 9, we're going to be pushing in to talk about the different resources next month in October. College Board, I'm sure none of you have ever heard of it. Just kidding, bad joke. This is not only a good resource to register for AP and for SAT, it's a big future portion of that website, which I put a direct link to, is a fantastic college search engine. And when I mean college search engine, I don't mean just, oh, you can type in a school and it'll tell you all about it. This will take into account all sorts of different filters to really find, an initial fit. You're going to want to do side research on top of that, but this is a great starting point. And there's another similar search engine through Naviance that I'll talk about in the upcoming slide. Explore different careers and majors with filtered searches, as I just said. This is where PSAT and registration, AP resources and practice, AP Central to be exact, as many of you students that are here know all about that already. And we will be going into 9th grade advisories to make sure that all kids have College Board accounts. This is something that
We should have our account already, right?
Say it again. Sam, I think you're unmuted.
Oh, sorry.
No worries. But a lot of so in years past, we've had students that have taken the SAT and they didn't create a unique College Board account, and it was a headache getting the matching. So what we want to do this year is we want to have all of our kids during advisory, if they don't already have one, create a unique College Board account, save the password to their Chromebook so they have it, so that as they get to grades 10 and 11 with PSAT and SAT, they already have their information, so their scores will go directly to their account. This is just a screenshot of what Big Future looks like, the search engine. Naviance Family Connection, brand new this year. We have opened it up to all students at Chicago, so students in grades 6 to 12. Miss Kelly Norris is working with this. There's a new social emotional learning curriculum that we are going through and delivering, and Miss Norris has been working with grade 6 in this. It used to be called Developmental Guidance. Now it's called Spartan Development, new name. All students and parents have access to an account. For students that are in grade 9 that are new, or students that are new to the school, please see your school counselor. All student emails from Chippewa have an assigned Naviance account. We'll need to reset your password, and you'll get an email from Naviance with specific instructions on how to log in. We will be pushing in to classes, as I said, in October to give more detailed information on how students can utilize this, but we're going to give you a screenshot of that tonight. As I stated earlier, it's a student success plan tool. We use Naviance for different advisory activities, and on the side right here, you see a list of different interest inventories or career interest profilers that'll help students really start to narrow down based on their personality, based on their interests, some fields that might be intriguing to them to pursue. College and career searches, and we use Naviance, the counselors do, to send documents, important documents for the college application process directly to institutions. And we'll learn more about that. I'm going to take a quick pause and check on our participants. Bear with me. Keep coming. Okay. Supermatch is the program through Naviance that is very similar to Big Future. But as you see with the screenshot I took, these are all different filters: location, academics, admission. So for instance, if a student knows they want to stay local, but they're looking for a good liberal arts school, you would click on location, you would put New England. Academics, you would put liberal arts. Admission, that's a number of different things. That could be specific deadlines, that could be rolling admission, diversity, what the campus is like, institution characteristics, cost, student life, athletics for those athletes. And Miss Samantha Stein, sorry to put you on the spot, but she's our NCAA guru, Mr. Parachi as well. So any of you athletes out there, the process is going to be different moving forward.
That would be for Division 1 and 2.
Correct.
Not D3.
Thank you. Also in Naviance, so if you have a school that you already know you're interested in, if you click on colleges, there's a little college bar, which I have at the top here. You could type in any school and it'll give you a screenshot of the average net price. And you could filter your household income to get a sense of what you're looking at for a price in a school. Graduation rate within 6 years, super important. Acceptance rate, if you're looking for schools, and we're going to get into kind of how you go about making that list and choosing. This gives you a good idea of how many kids are being accepted on a daily basis, and it'll also give you information on how many applications are processed in the previous year. Also gives you important deadline information. When you see priority deadline, this doesn't mean that UConn's deadline is December 1st. That means to be considered for merit scholarships, you want to have your application submitted by December 1st. That varies by institution. We'll continue to go on that route in future slides. So for parents and students that are in 9th, 10th, 11th grade, there is a tab called Colleges I'm Thinking About in Naviance. And this is a great tool to keep a list of schools that you are interested in based on your research, based on your current credentials, based on the field that you're looking to study, if you already know that. This is not something that goes anywhere. This is really just for you. It's the colleges I'm applying to. That's when we send things, which we'll get into. That's when we send electronic documents to specific schools. The colleges I'm thinking about is just another place for you to keep a list of schools, but also be able to click on that school and get specific information about that institution. And like I said, never too early. Our support service page, I feel, has a lot of great information for the college application process, media resources. This will be posted on the support service page, after we record, after tonight. We have a future planning guide, which we are currently editing, and we're going to have the latest version up as soon as possible, but there still is great information in the older version. We've been doing message of the week. We're going to get that back up and running. That was a specialty during pandemic, kind of having a theme and really kind of trying to live a specific message each week through our students, through our department. There is a tab about SAT and ACT updates, and there's also what I know a lot of people like to see is our recent college acceptances. There's a list for the last 3 years of some of the schools where our kids have been accepted to, and there's a pretty robust and impressive list there. I would go further about the College and Career Center, but we have a pretty great College and Career Center coordinator that's going to talk a little bit about that later. My last slide for now, a little bit about Google Classroom, which everyone really knows about. However, the class of 2021 Google Classroom has specific information that's really important. We post frequently different reminders and deadlines as deadlines approach for whether it be early action or early decision, which we'll talk about. We have different deadlines going out. Reminders. There's a number of documents that we use frequently with our kids. That, for instance, we have the release of information. That's a document that is a must. Without a parent signature or a student signature, if they're 18 or older, we are unable to send documents to prospective colleges. We need your permission to release that information. So, really before the process could really start for 12th graders, we have to have that document signed. That is an example of one of the documents in there. We moved to virtual transcript requests to streamline everything. And this was really actually pre-COVID, but we did transition into the virtual transfer request for scholarships as well due to COVID. But this is a Google form that is very simple questions about the school you're applying to, the deadline, and you must fill this out for every transcript that needs to go out. And again, this is something that's going to be discussed when we discuss our specific process, application process in the latter of this presentation. I'm going to turn it over because I'm kind of tired of hearing myself talk. I'm going to actually stop sharing just for a quick second so I can take a look at the chat feature and see if there's any specific questions that I could answer. Any experience of interest in studying full-time in UK? So this is something, and actually I skipped over one, Monica, I'll get to that in a second. We have students that have studied abroad in a number of different places. We have a student right now that's in Scotland. We have students in the UK. And two students in the UK. So this is something that our kids are interested in, and I know there's a number of kids in this class, this current class of 2021, that are interested in pursuing overseas studies. So as far as, that's something that I would say meet with your assigned school counselor.
Did you know you
or
could do
set
that?
up sorry, I'm going to mute you. Meet with your specific assigned school counselor to kind of go through that in depth. For tonight's purposes, I'm going to stick with the planning aspect. Will the Naviance classes be for all students in grades 9 to 12 in October? So it's a little different for seniors. We did a senior project, push-in is what we called, where we announced different things about the application process. Each of us visited senior projects, so we got to all the senior projects last week to make sure that they knew what they were doing, check in with any questions, make sure they were all logged into the class of 2021 Google Classroom. But we are hopeful to get to students in 9, 10, and 11 between October and November. We're all still adjusting to this new block schedule, but it does provide us more time to get in there and present. So we're looking forward to that. And I'm going to share my screen, and Ms. Steinis, the floor is yours.
Thank you. First, I just want to say thank you for, we've got quite a few participants. It's really nice to see so many people here taking the time to be a part of this. So I'll just jump into standardized testing. So as many of you know, the testing that most colleges would like to see is either an SAT or an ACT. Most schools are not specific. They'll take either test as the basis for admissions. This year is a little different. Most colleges are going test optional because of COVID, because there are many areas in the country where kids just cannot take an SAT. So our seniors were very fortunate last week. They were able to take one of the SATs, and they may be able to take another one at another location, but that was actually their first SAT, which for most of them, which is rather late in the year. We normally give the SAT in March or April. So hopefully when we're getting back to normal, then we can get back on track with that. But many schools require standardized testing. This year is a different year. Like I said, most colleges are going test optional. For the younger students that are here in families for 9th, 10th, and 11th grade, so that you know there are many schools that are test optional in a non-COVID pandemic time. So we do have a website that we can access called fairtest.org, where you can go on and see what colleges are test optional. And the advantage to this is that some students are just excellent students on their transcript. They've got phenomenal grades, but when it comes to a 3 or 3.5 hour test, they just do not test well. So for those students that are not testing well, they can look at some top tier schools that are test optional and not have that standardized test go against them. PSATs will be, if you can go to the next slide, I think we have the dates for that. Thank you. So PSATs we're doing for all juniors this October. Normally we do the PSATs for 10th and 11th graders. This year, again, because of COVID, we have to do things a little bit differently. So we can only test the 11th graders this fall. We are looking to do a PSAT for the 10th graders this spring. And Mr. Boucher is looking into that. So hopefully we'll be able to get that going for them in February or March. And that is a great practice for 10th graders. A lot of people think, well, isn't that young? It's not young because it is a practice test. Colleges will not see your PSAT scores. So for 10th graders or even 9th graders, it's not a bad test to take to get into that experience and learn those, or I should say apply those testing strategies. So PSATs for juniors will be this fall, for sophomores will be next spring, hopefully, and then we will go back into our regular schedule of having SATs in the spring for the current juniors. Additional test dates we have for testing for this year, as of right now, are October 3rd, and you can the list is there. And some test centers are still having tests, some test centers are not. So anyone who is signing up to take an SAT this fall should know that they
Yes. Miss Dias, did we lose you? All right. Welcome to the new normal. All right. Well, Miss Steinis takes care of some technical difficulties. I will hop in. And I did want to say that we were able to lock down March 24th for our SAT school day, March 24th, 2021, for our class of 2022. So current juniors will be taking SAT school day, fingers crossed, March 24th. I'm going to go to the next page. Right. ACT. So we're going to talk a little bit about ACT versus SAT in upcoming slides. But just for now, just take a look. These are different test dates that are coming up. And colleges take either or, ACT, SAT. A lot of people ask, what's the preference? Well, the one thing that the ACT does that the SAT doesn't is include science. But you're going to see more information on that. I have a very nice visual that we included on this, kind of comparing the two tests. And here it is. So take a minute to just take a look at this, and I'll revisit the chat feature. But the far right-hand side, we have your comparison, as far as like a scale goes. And this is not exact. This is ACT and SAT based on the 1600 score and the 36 raw score of the ACT. So this just gives you a couple columns on why you would take it, what the test structure is like, length, reading, etc. Mr. McManus and Miss Kelly, any sign of Miss Steinis?
Not at the moment.
We lost our internet connection.
No, no worries. No worries. Okay. All right. So I'm going to stop my share just for a second. And I'm going to check out the chat feature. So a couple great questions. So one is about ACT or SAT offering kind of a remote setting for potentially any distance learners, and not to my knowledge, they've kind of stayed true to their test centers. You know, there's a number of local high schools that have test centers, but no, the answer to that is no. There's not a remote test taking option. But for PSATs, all students in grades 11, regardless if they're distant or in-person learners, they're welcome to Chippewa for that day. It does have to be in person, but there are 3 different testing rooms. So that's October 14th, as Ms. Donna said. And then one other question, how to go about getting ready for the SAT. So a lot of this is ingrained in our classes already, you know, in both English and math. However, Khan Academy has specific, you know, geared instruction and help for the SAT. And any students that took the PSAT can link their Khan Academy account to their College Board account and get free specified help that, you know, it really locks in on areas that you may have struggled with and focuses on those for when it gives you practice questions. So Khan Academy is fantastic. There's a number of places that you can go for personalized one-on-one help as well. Pearson's one of them. But yeah, that's a great question. Now I'm going to go back to the slideshow. All right, finding the right fit. So it's funny because when I went to senior project and Miss Kelly could vouch for this, I said 3-letter word starting with F. That's what I'm trying to drive home to seniors is, you know, it's no one knows you better than you. I said this is obviously a family decision because there's finances that come into play. But when you're choosing a school, you got to think about your interests. You got to think about your strengths. You got to think about you as a person. If you're going to fit onto that college campus right now, it's super challenging. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. It's not easy. However, there's a number of virtual college tours and, you know, virtual college visits, and there's a number of different things you can do to try to determine if it is a good fit. But I will say a lot of schools locally, at least in Connecticut, since we're not a red state, they have been allowing people on campus, you know, with, you know, masks and temperature checks and ensuring all protocols are taken. However, they are starting to allow some people on campus, and this varies by school, which you'll need to look at each individual school. 4 things that we really look at: program, place, people, price. The 4 Ps, and we're going to go into each of those in the upcoming slides. And like I said, visit if you can. We have plenty of virtual tours available. Miss Kelly and Mr. McManus, who are both here with us, did a great road trip tour during spring of last year, which we have available, and we'll talk a little bit about more later. Speak with admissions, again, something that Mr. McManus will talk about. He's had kids in the Career Center basically daily, pretty much every period, talking to admissions reps already. And as I said, no one knows you better than you. But parents, you are very close. What is the program? So when I say program, I don't necessarily mean the school itself. I'm talking specifics. I'm talking if you know the specific major, specific program you want to go into, whether it be nursing or biology or political science. These are things that you're going to want to look into the specific program at the school you're interested in, because it's going to vary. You know, you have schools that are bigger, you have schools that are smaller. class sizes are going to vary. If you do really well in a smaller class size, but you found yourself struggling when it's a bigger environment and less one-on-one attention, you might want to, gear your search towards a smaller college with a smaller program. Always say take a look at the academic calendar. What I mean by that is go on their site, see what they have coming up, specifically in the program you're interested in. See what types of study abroad programs are offered. We have a lot of students that are studying full time, overseas, and we have a number of students that have successfully done, whether it be 2 weeks or a full semester studying abroad. It's something that I really wish I did, looking back on it. Credentials of faculty, obviously very important. Something I really want to highlight too is internships and career planning. Really great question to be asking for prospective schools is, what types of internship programs do you have in place? And, what's the job placement been like for graduates that graduate with this degree? You want to know before you invest in a school, before you make a decision, you want to know that, you want to know the numbers. Honors programs, all schools have some version of an honors program. UConn, it's called honors program. Same thing with Central, Eastern, Southern, WestConn. And a component of the honors program, especially with the 4 state schools, and as I talk, I'm just going to let these people in. A component of these is potential free tuition, which does not include room and board, but that's part of the deal with many of the honors programs. Miss Sinus, you're back.
I don't know what happened, but it was very stressful. So
no worries. I got you up to what about the place?
Thank you so much. All right. So I assume we're looking about the right fit for students.
Yeah, we talked a little bit about fit, but this is definitely part of it.
Okay. So when students are looking at colleges, obviously they can look at public versus private, but there's a lot of factors to take into consideration when they're looking at schools. Obviously, the price is much different for privates versus publics, but we do say not to let the price tag deter you from looking at a school, because there could be a lot of merit money. There could be other financial aid opportunities for students. We've had students in the past that have gone to private schools and have had it cost actually less money than state colleges in Connecticut. So it can be a factor, but it's also good not to completely discount a private school because of cost. Size is also a consideration. Some students, especially coming from a smaller high school, are looking for a smaller fit in college. They want that opportunity to get to know their professors and have a lot of time with them. So they're looking for smaller class sizes. Some students would rather go to a larger school and don't mind being just a number on a campus and are looking for that. So it's something to think about when you're looking at those colleges. Distance is a huge factor. We have a lot of families that will say, they'll drop a pin on where we live and say, okay, this is your radius, X amount of hours away from where we're living to go to college. Other families say, look wherever and see what's right for you, and they don't mind getting on a plane to send their child to college. So that really does need to be a family discussion as well. Weather is a factor. We've got some students that just love the Northeast and they want to ski, and they're really active in those sports, and so they want to be up north where they can take part in that. Other students really want to get away from the Northeast and be somewhere a lot warmer. So that is something to think about as well. The campus, the location of the campus, the area around the campus is important to take a look at, urban versus suburban versus rural. So some families will walk onto an urban campus like Boston University or Northeastern University, and you may not even realize that you're on a campus, versus a school like Boston College or Fairfield University, where it's got a gated driveway, a very different type of community. So that's something that students may not know what they're looking for initially, but when they go and do those tours, they'll get a better sense of what it is that they really want. And so that would be the same for size and area attractions or lack of. That has been something that's kept some students away from applying to to some schools. If you could click over to the next one, please. All right, and then who are the people, the college's personality? That's really important. It's, we advise, or we encourage, I should say, going on to the campuses to do tours to see what is the feel for the campus. And that's difficult now because a lot of colleges are not doing tours, but a lot of them will do virtual tours, and Mr. McManus has set up a lot of those virtual tours in the College and Career Center that he can talk about a little bit later. But that's a great way for a student to get to know a little bit more about that school. The activities and organizations, and this is a big piece, because when you're going to school, you're not just going for the education. A lot of students want to be involved in things on campus. So they want to be involved in either a sport or a newspaper or student government or clubs, and that is, again, part of that experience. So that's something to think about if the college has what you are looking for. And some schools really focus a lot on Greek life, on sports, on community service and giving back. So that's something to think about when you're looking at those colleges as well. And then diversity is a factor, and some students really want that diversity because they are looking for that more real world type experience. So if we can go to the next one, please. The price. Okay, so I talked a little bit about the price, but that is really the time for families to have that honest discussion on what is it that the family is comfortable with. Again, we say not to completely deter a family from applying to a private school if the price tag looks high, because you don't necessarily know what will happen with your packages, and you might actually end up spending less money out of your pocket going to a private school than a public university, depending. But there is something called the net price calculator that colleges are required to have on their websites. I've found that sometimes it's not easy to navigate these sites and find where they keep this net price calculator. So if students go on the College Board account website and they plug in a college, and it brings them to that very first page of that college where it says at a glance, and they scroll down there, there's a link on all of those pages for each school for the net price calculator. And if you take about 5 or 10 minutes, and I've done it myself, 5 or 10 minutes to plug in your financial information, you will get a pretty realistic idea of how much it is that you are going to have to pay to go to that school. And the families that we've had that have done this before, when they actually did get their financial aid packages, it was pretty spot on. So it's not like they're selling you a cheap price on this calculator, and then when you actually go to apply for financial aid, you're not getting as much. It's pretty spot on. So something to consider as well. And I do think it's important that families have those discussions at home about realistic finances, because the college costs have gone up quite a bit. We don't know how much aid will be available moving forward, especially after this year. I know that a lot of colleges have lost some revenue this summer from not being able to have a lot of the programs that they've had, and colleges have lost revenue from not being able to have sports that bring in a lot of money this fall. So we don't really know what's going to happen there. So I think it's important to look at a variety of prices as well. So consider that as well. Okay, next. All right, and then we're on to Mr. McManus.
All righty.
You.
All right, thank you. And the first one on the list is virtual college visits. All right, now I've listed them on several different places. The first place is, if you go onto the school website, the support service page, there is a College and Career Center website. And I list them daily, weekly on there. I shared, especially with the seniors on Google Classroom, but through Gmail, a Google Sheet that includes the name of the schools, the location, the time and date they're doing the virtual visit, and the Zoom link for each of the particular schools. So I'll reshare that again to parents and students after this as well. And I do weekly and daily, more weekly emails to students and parents, like for the next coming week. I'm sure you got mine for the next coming week of visits. Also on September 16th, moving on, we had our college admission panel, where we had 4 schools come and talk to, answer some student-driven questions. We polled the high school students as far as what they would want to hear, what they wanted to get out of this opportunity. And the schools we had were Wesleyan University, High Point University, UConn, and Eastern Connecticut State University. So students and parents were able to come. I attached a link to watch it in case you were unable to attend. So that was a good success as well.
Yeah, and Mr. McMahon, if you don't mind, real quick. So
Sure.
one piece of, a big thing when creating or inviting these panelists, we took into consideration kids want to know, the implications of, this pandemic and how it's going to impact admissions decisions, the standardized testing piece, just, the pass fail piece, if you elected pass fail last year and how that's going to impact. And the resounding answer was that they're going to work with any individual case. They understand that we were all in the same boat. But really take a look at this admission panel. There was some really great points brought up and just really great insights on the application process, even for students in starting grade 9. Sorry, Mike, go ahead.
No, please, it's fine. And the last thing on the list, this is Career of the Week. College and Career of the Week is basically students grades 6 through 12 before the pandemic started. I sent out a weekly email to students about a possible college of students that are interested in, and the brief, information of what the school is, but also a particular career that a lot of students are interested as well. So that goes out every week. We'll be starting that tomorrow as well. Let's see, anything else for that? No, I think that's it. If you can go to the next slide, please. All right. For financial aid, as we know, FAFSA stands for Free Application for Federal Student Aid. Every student who's going off to college needs to fill this out, despite where they're going. Again, it opens October 1st, and I do want to plug, we are holding a financial aid night virtually this year on October 5th at 7 p.m. I included the link, and you'll probably get a few more reminders from me before it happens, but we would like everyone to take part. It's a good resource for students and for parents to listen to, get updates and see what's new as far as how the process works for students. Okay. And if you can move on to the next one. And let's see. All right. Now, scholarships, we typically start January 1 is when they have them listed on the Sports Services website. Also, there's hard copies located in the counseling office for students to grab in school. And there are also a couple other opportunities that students can find national scholarships, which are also listed on the Support Services website. So if you want to take a look there, you can definitely see that. Is there anything else anyone want to add?
Yeah, so I'll chime in with our Chappaqua Valley School scholarships. These are from community members from the three towns, and Sherman has some separate scholarships as well. And then there's also scholarships available for students that don't reside in one of the 3 towns. And typically for seniors, we host an event at the end of February to really kind of kick off our scholarships where there's a list of all different scholarships. This is also going to be housed in Naviance because pretty much where we house a little bit of everything. And there are other scholarships available at the national level for students really in grades 9 to 12. In Naviance, under scholarships, there is, which is directly under the colleges tab, there is a scholarship search engine. So apply, like it says in the bottom line. And see your school counselor with any specific scholarship questions. There's a lot of money to go around, and we really encourage our kids to apply for scholarships that they meet the credentials for. Right. Thanks, Mike.
Can I add in on that one?
Yes, please go.
So, some of the scholarship applications require students to do an essay, and sometimes this essay may take an hour or 2 or 3 to do. And we put it in the terms of a return on the investment. So if they take 3 hours to do an essay and they earn a $1,500 scholarship, that's $500 for each hour of their time. So it's pretty good return. So, and we take that and we say, okay, if you do not get that scholarship, you do not apply for that scholarship, and you have to borrow that money, how many hours will you have to work to pay that back versus taking the 3 hours possibly to do that essay. Not all scholarships require essays, but some students are deterred from those because they are quite busy in the spring, but we still encourage them to do that because there's a lot of money out there and students have to apply, and they could get some students walk away from financial aid night with quite a few scholarships in hand, and that really helps them. So we just want to encourage kids to apply for that.
Great. We're going to be moving on to Miss Kelly after this slide. So I did want to stop sharing for just a second and update the chat feature, make sure there's nothing. Is it true that Chappaqua Community Scholarships can be applied for by a New Milford resident despite being a Chappaqua student? Yes. If you hear that in the background, my dog just ran down the stairs and is currently running around in circles. So don't worry about him. He's a good boy. It is true. So there are specific scholarships for only residents of Washington. There are specific scholarships only for residents of Bridgewater. Same for Sherman. Same for Roxbury. However, there are Region 12 scholarships, which is all Chappaqua kids. So yes, there are scholarships that students from New Milford could apply for. So that's one question.
There might also be scholarships that are specifically for New Milford residents as well. So
correct.
That would be worthwhile looking into.
Yep. Great. All right, Miss Kelly, I'm going to reshare the screen. There you go.
Okay. So where do I begin to apply? So if you are a senior or a senior parent attending tonight, so this is happening for you right now. If you are a 9th, 10th, or 11th grade, it's going to give you just a quick glance at what the process looks like when you show up in September and you're a senior, and it will happen sooner than you think. It's going to be your turn to apply. So in the spirit of not keeping you here all night, I'm going to try and move through these a little bit quickly, so don't hesitate to put questions in the chat. Maybe Mrs. Steinis and Mr. McManus can keep an eye on those. So deadlines is an important thing to know. They will start in October, as early as October, and they go as late as March. A lot of times, one of the first questions is, what is the difference between early decision, early action, regular decision, rolling admission? So I'm just going to give you a quick definition of that. Early decision is a binding decision. So if you are a kid who knows absolutely 100% there's a school that I want to go to if I get into it, and we've talked about the money, as Mrs. Steiner said, and it's an absolute, then early decision may be for you. Usually it's a November 1 date, and it gets you in there early. Early action is also usually right up front, November 1, November 15th. You can get an answer earlier, but they're not binding. So it's actually kind of a nice option for kids who have schools that they are interested in. They get an early response, but they don't necessarily have to commit until the May 1 commit deadline. Regular decision is just your normal application deadline. They're usually will probably start somewhere in mid-December. They go all the way through March. Rolling admissions is a little different. They can start as early as October, November, and what that means is that as colleges get applications, they process them and they make the decision. So what happens, so you know, if they're rolling admissions, as they get decisions and kids accept, they start filling up that class. And so it's just to keep an eye on. If you have a rolling admission, just know that it's usually better to go sooner than later. So bottom line there, know the admissions policy and deadlines for the schools to which you are applying. Make a list. If you are a senior, make a list of schools that you're interested in and research the admissions page on those schools. Know what they want and know when they want it. Know what your deadlines are. I love lists. I encourage my seniors to make lists. They're a great way to keep on top of things. Mr. Boucher, next slide. Yep. How many schools should I apply to? So the average suggested number is anywhere between 6 and 9. If you have a really good list, it doesn't necessarily even have to be that many, but that's usually the average. You really don't need more than that. You know, sometimes kids come up to us with a list of like 15, 16, 17 schools. If you've done the research and you know the schools, you don't really need that many. The reach schools are the ones that are just like, you know, the odds of you getting in might be kind of low. You know, those are the Princetons or the Harvards or whatever, but you know, you might want to give it a shot. So don't be afraid to apply to one or two of those. You never know what might happen there. Target schools are those ones that you're pretty confident you're going to get into. And then the safety schools are the ones that there's like an 80 to 90% chance you're going to get in. Always good to have a little mix of all of those, having a safety school so you know that there's going to be somewhere that you're going to go, but don't be afraid to reach. And take the time to know the specific requirements and averages of the colleges you are interested in. Mr. Boucher mentioned our virtual tours that we made on each one of those different schools. We actually put a little blip about average SAT scores and average GPA of incoming freshmen. Just gives you an idea of whether you fit into their range. Next slide. How do I apply? So I actually had somebody ask me this morning, so this is a great question. So when it comes time to apply to school, where do we actually do that? And that happens in the Common App. That's when it's time for you to apply to a school. That's where you will submit your piece of the application, and that's where you will pay for that submission. Coalition for College is a new, is just like Common App. It's a little newer, not quite as many schools. But many colleges are starting to accept it. Either one of them is fine. And sometimes the specific college might have their own application process. Again, I would just take the time to research the admissions page of any school you're interested in. They will make it pretty clear to you how they want you to apply. Or you can just Google a school, you know, tell you whether.
There you go.
Admissions requirements. So these are the things that most schools are going to be looking for. Obviously, you have to submit the application. Standardized test scores, or if you go to a test optional school, you don't need that. But as was said earlier, that goes through College Board. Academic transcripts are sent by us through Naviance. We will be sending actually most of the docs, we send all the docs that come from the school through Naviance. That includes the transcript. That includes the letters of recommendation. It includes our recommendation. The counselors will do one as well. That all goes through Naviance. The college essay is on Common App. Most of you seniors have probably started looking at that and thinking about that, but that's part of the Common App application. And then there is a fee for every school that you submit to. It's usually somewhere between 50 and 100. I think it's probably right in the middle there, around $75 a school. So another reason to keep, try to keep your list as efficient and accurate as possible, because it can get kind of costly the more schools you apply to. Additional requirements, sorry.
Sorry, that's all right.
That's okay.
No worries, jumping the gun.
Just additional requirements, again, just taking the time to research the admissions page of any school you're interested in, because it will list it pretty clearly what they're looking for from you.
Yeah, and just to add to that, Joanne, they have in Common App, for instance, once you do the Common App piece, some schools will have separate supplemental essays or questions that you need to do. And it varies by school. Some have less, some have more, some have none. Majority will have some, because they need to know, what program you're going to apply to for that specific school. And B, when you want to go. Is it going to be this next semester? Is it going to be the following semester? So there are specific questions for each school in the Common App.
Can I add something on the application fee?
Yep.
Oh, okay. So there, especially this year, because there's a lot of financial uncertainty for a lot of families, there are schools that may waive the application fee often with a counselor letter. The College Board also provides, I think it's 4 or 5 free application waivers to colleges. So if you are a senior this year, especially this year, but in coming years as well. And there are some financial circumstances that make coming up with these application fees difficult for the family. Please have that conversation with the counselor, because we can look into things to help you pay for that. So the fee should not be a deterrent to applying to colleges. There are ways that we can help with that. So please reach out to your counselor and to let your counselor know, and we'll be happy to help out with that.
Perfect. The college essay. So this is, I think, my favorite part of the college application. Like we said, the Common App has a essay that's required. And in the Google Classroom for seniors, we have the list of the 2021 prompts are there for you to take a look at. There's about 10 different prompts, I think. And you can take a look, see which one is interesting to you. It is a strong factor in the decision process, and it is a chance for you to set yourself apart from the applicant field. I can't stress enough how important it is for you to just be you when you write this essay. Schools are going to get your transcript, they're going to get your test scores, they're going to get the letters of other people talking to you. This is the one place in the college application that you have a chance to show an admissions counselor who you are, what you're about, what's important to you, what you're interested in. So don't be afraid to make it personal. Don't be afraid to think outside the box a little. Don't be afraid to be funny. Let them see who you are. It's important for them to see that. Definitely follow word limitations and be aware of how many words they want. Make sure you let somebody else see it. Proofreading is important. I would say let at least 2 other pairs of eyes take a look at it for typos, word usage, whatever. It's important that it is, as far as that goes, perfect. We don't want any mistakes on those essays going out.
Hey, can you put the burger on the thing for me and hit the button?
Don't forget, at the bottom there, don't forget to check if the school has a requirement for supplemental essays. Mr. Boucher just touched on that. Some schools will require more than just the Common App essay. They might have some other short answer supplemental questions that they want you to answer. So make sure you take a look at that.
You just flip it for me.
All right, next slide. Letters of recommendation. So if you are a senior and you have not asked teachers to write you a letter of recommendation, we suggest you do that.
There we go.
Again.
No, it looks like it's. Please just
No,
let
but
me.
fix
Please,
it. Stop
please. I'm being recorded. No.
Okay, can we please mute everyone? I just tried. Thank you.
Okay, so what we recommend is 2 teacher recommendations. Most colleges are looking for a letter from your counselor, your school counselor, and at least 1, if not 2, letters from teachers. If you have not, as we said, if you're a senior, you have not asked yet, I would get on that one pretty quickly and start asking, because we need to give teachers time to write. Once you have asked them in person, you need to go onto your Naviance account and request their letters through Naviance officially. If you have not done that yet, you can sit with your counselor and we can help you do it. I know the kids that I've met with have already done it. And then the teachers will, once they get the formal request through Naviance, then they will upload their letters directly into Naviance, and we will send them out when your application goes out. Mrs. Steinish, you want to talk about FERPA? You're pretty good with the FERPA.
Oh, sure. Sure. So FERPA is the Family Education Rights Privacy Act. So that basically means that families and students, once they turn 18, have a right to see the student's educational file. So if a student would like to see what's in their file and they're not 18, they would need to have their parents request that. The letters of recommendation, although they are not technically kept in the student's cumulative file, they are considered to be part of the file because we submit those letters on behalf of the student to colleges. So FERPA basically, so the students need to understand their FERPA rights. But within the common application, they also have to indicate whether they are going to be waiving their right to see the letters of recommendation, or whether they will not waive the right, which means they will be able to see that letter of recommendation. So this is the student's choice on what they want to do, but they do need to understand that whatever their choice is, that the teacher will know, and whoever's writing a letter of recommendation for them will know whether they've waived their right or not prior to uploading that letter to Naviance. So the way colleges look at this is they say, if a student has waived their right to write that, to view that letter, the teacher uploads that letter knowing that the student will not see that letter. So they believe that everything then that teacher has written is 100% true and accurate. And so they will put a lot of weight on that letter, and that should help the student in that process. If a student does not waive the rights, that means they will see the letter, and the teacher, so colleges look at that and say, well, perhaps that teacher was writing and being very generous with their critique and saying things that might not necessarily be true, because the student would be seeing their letter or the family would be seeing the letter. So it is the student's choice to view the letter or not, or waive the recommendation or not, but they do need to know that it will carry them further in the application process if they do waive their right, because colleges put more weight on that. And students always ask, well, what if they don't write a good letter for me? A teacher will not agree to write a letter for a student unless they have many positive things to say. So in 24 years, I haven't seen any negative letters. So.
Okay, so quick required documents for students applying to college. These are all found in the Google Classroom class of 2021. And when you're a student, or if you're a senior, it will be in your Google Classroom. Mr. Boucher talked about the release of student information. That's the #1 piece that we need sooner than later. That will give us permission to send out any information that we need to send out when the time comes. The transcript request form also on Google Classroom. Again, when you apply to a school, you'll just fill that out and submit it, and that basically tells us, okay, they submitted their part of this application, now it's our turn to submit our stuff. The parent brag sheet and the student brag sheet, those are really just to give us as counselors a little more information. We do have to write letters for all of our students, which we'd love to do. And we do know your students fairly well by the time they're seniors, but this just gives us a little more insight into them. So we ask all the students to fill out their brag sheet, gives them a chance to just talk about what they've done over the last 4 years, what they see as some of their best experiences, their challenges, best classes. There is a parent one as well. It is on the Google Classroom. So if you're interested in filling it out for your senior, by all means, ask them to print it out for you, or we have a hard copy we can get to you. We can give them to send home to you. It's not mandatory. You don't have to do it, but if you'd like to fill it out and just give us a little insight from your perspective, we're always glad to have it. Next slide. Okay, what do I do after I submit my application? So we just talked about the FERPA. Once we do that, this little picture down below, that is a picture of Naviance. Once they've filled out their Common App and they've gotten into their Naviance, we basically match the accounts up, and that will basically link the Common App and the Naviance together. So when they put schools into Common App, it will show up on Naviance, because we as counselors are working through Naviance, we don't see their Common App. So it just gives us a link between the two accounts so we know what's going on with the students. Transcript request forms, we just talked about that. The SATs and the ACTs, those are your responsibility, students, to send that out. We do not do that for you. So if you have questions, by all means, ask your counselors, and keep us updated. Once you guys apply, we want to know what's going on. We want to know if you get into a school, we want to hear about it. We want to celebrate with you. If you don't get into a school, we want to hear about that too. We want to make sure you're okay, or you get waitlisted, or you get deferred, whatever it is. Keep us updated. We love to know what's going on.
And just to kind of reiterate what Ms. Kelly said, and I love how she just attacked that, because this process can be and should be fun. You're planning next 4, maybe 6, maybe 8 years of your life, based on where you'd like to attend, what you want to do. So have fun with it. Sure, there's going to be bumps in the road, but you have a great team in the counseling department at Chapag, but also in your families. And as I said earlier, no one knows you better than you. Stay true to yourself, stick with your gut. Good things will continue to come.
Can I add?
Yes, please.
Oh, okay. So for seniors that are currently in this, and then for underclassmen that are looking forward to this, the process can be very stressful, but what we will often do is meet with a student on a weekly basis. And we take this process and we chunk it down into smaller steps. So the first meeting, when they leave, they'll have a couple assignments, to do. They come back the next week. They have another few assignments to do. And in a month or 5 or 6 weeks, depending on how much they're able to do between our visits, they can be completely done with this entire process. So for the students that are feeling like this is overwhelming, I don't know where to start, what do I do? The first step is to meet with your counselor, because we can walk you through every step of the way. And the weekly meetings have really helped a lot of our kids to get through this process without being too overwhelmed.
And just to kind of piggyback, just like Ms. Steiner said, yes, we're very much available. And I know there's a number of kids that are comfortable, in this process. And, if you feel like you have the tools to at least begin on your own and then kind of come to us with questions, don't feel like you have to be there, every week. We don't want you to think that you have to be there every week. But, like Ms. Steiner said, we're available and we're here to help.
Can I add just one more thing too?
Mm-hmm.
So parents, you are also welcome to sit in on one of these planning meetings if you would like to. We don't want to make you feel like you can't be a part of this process. You are absolutely. Right now with COVID, it would have to be obviously virtual, but we could always Zoom you into a meeting with your student if you want. Just wanted to put that out there.
Great. And the last thing I'll say before we start to close and see if there's any last questions. Mr. McManus, I just want to reiterate some of the fantastic things he's doing in the Career Center right now. He's really having students come to him with admissions officers that he wants, that they want to meet with. And he's setting up those virtual meets, which I think is extremely important, and we've discussed earlier. But putting a face to that application, that shows definite interest. And, in dealing with college admissions panel, they say it makes a definite difference. Like it has a positive impact on it. Even if you're noticeably nervous, it's okay to be a little nervous. That shows that you're interested. Don't be scared of doing that, and continue to utilize what's a great space in our school, the College and Career Center.
I'm just noticing there's a lot of questions in the chat about financial aid. I just wanted to reiterate that we do have a financial aid night coming up, and all those questions can get answered.
Mm-hmm. And I kept the thank you slide super short, and I'm going to stop sharing in a second. But this is even though we talked about the college application process, and for the team of us, it's been several times we've done this in years past, but there's a lot of new things for even us too. It's a different process, but we're all in this together. We're continuously researching, attending webinars to try to understand to the best of our ability and help our kids to the absolute best ability we can. And if this past spring is any indication of what our kids are capable of, good things are going to continue to come. And if the first 4 weeks of in-person learning and remote learning, the hybrid between the two, if that's any indication of what this class of 2021, class of 22, 23, 24, and so on is capable of, good things will continue to come. I'm going to say thank you now, but I am going to stop sharing and take a look at our questions, because it looks like we did receive a few. Okay, Ms. Stein's got to that one. And also there is a feature. If you go to participants, you can raise your hand virtually. If you had a specific question, we can answer that out loud. But for the time being, I'm going to start with, is it true that regardless of income, everyone applies for financial aid, which you should still apply for financial aid regardless of income? Yes.
Some scholarships require your student aid report, which is something you would get after you complete the FAFSA. So some scholarships will require that as part of their application. So you should.
Thank you, Ms. Dennis. If the student is awarded merit aid upon admission, but then the admission financial situation for the college university changes. So that question about the financial situation, that's going to vary by school.
Yeah.
It depends. It really, you know, I hate giving that answer, but it really depends on the cost, the amount of aid that was initially given. So that's going to be something that you work directly with the financial aid office for that specific school. Does that make sense? If there aren't,
I haven't
any
heard
more,
of merit money going down after it was promised, you know, to a student, but you know, we're in a different time now. So I don't think that a college would, you know, accept somebody with the condition of the merit money and then take it away if the student still merited that money. You know, if their grades go down, that would be a different story after they've been accepted. That would be a different situation. But I think we'll find that out this year.
All right, thank you.
thank you. All right, I'm scrolling to see if there's any other questions. Again, you know, I'm going to stay for a couple more minutes. I'm going to end the recording and just say thank you one more time for taking time to attend this virtual event. We're hopeful that these events, you know, in the near future we can hold in person. We're extremely proud of your children, and we thank you for all of your support during this very different year. And any other specific questions, don't hesitate to reach out to your son or daughter or child assigned school counselor. Myself as the director of school counseling, we are absolutely happy to help.